Ferrari is lacking in terms of balance and is unable to use the reference plane distance that it prefers, the one that would be most effective. In this regard, the recent statements of Lewis Hamilton have sparked discussion. The seven-time Formula One world champion pointed out that the SF-25 is running higher than the team would like. This situation opens the door to several hypotheses and important interpretations to be made. In this very early phase of the 2025 Formula One racing season, by observing the car's performance on track, we believe that the SF-25 is still using heights within the established range, but, theoretically, it could lower them further to find an additional load benefit. It's also true that, after the disqualification in the Chinese Grand Prix, the Maranello team's engineers and technicians made the decision to avoid taking too many risks for now. A conservative approach, in other words. At the Suzuka circuit, there was a partial resurfacing of the track from the last chicane all the way through the first sector. The rest remained unchanged. As a result, there were bumps that limited the lowering of the floor. Considering the layout of the track, Ferrari chose to use stiffer suspension components, which brought the expected benefits as the red car was competitive in the first sector. As we had mentioned in our preview of the Japanese Grand Prix, the SF-25 setup was built starting from this area, where the team knew that the handling of the McLaren MCL39 and the Red Bull RB21 would be highly competitive. However, being unable to lower the car as desired could be caused by a suspension philosophy that allows for more squat, an approach in contrast to stiffer configurations. It is important to specify that squat is the key parameter for providing traction, which can offer significant advantages, especially on tracks other than Suzuka. Furthermore, Ferrari is currently unable to fully leverage this philosophy, which on paper could lead to comparable results. They could stiffen the setup more, finding more performance in the faster sections without losing too much in the slower parts. This is a situation Charles Leclerc came quite close to, choosing a different setup than Lewis Hamilton. The prancing horse, to improve the areas where downforce was critical, had to find a compromise, as it couldn't fully exploit the areas where competitiveness was needed in acceleration phases. This is all due to the known issues with the still too narrow operating window. The lack of balance accounts for about 2/10 of pure performance, a puzzle that is not yet complete as the effectiveness of the setup construction has yet to fully materialize. This scenario reduces the car's performance, especially on complete and technical tracks like the Japanese one. The Maranello team is currently working on this factor to resolve the situation as soon as possible. Examining the behavior of the SF-25, we don't believe that Ferrari has a more sensitive aerodynamic platform to ground heights than other cars. All current F1 cars are quite tied to this parameter, which governs the competitiveness of ground effect vehicles. Ferrari has still found a good level of downforce, even though it's not yet using the heights it would prefer. Within this scenario, one question arises. Do other teams manage to lower the car more thanks to smart tricks? It seems so. In recent seasons, in fact, we have seen systems that directly acted on the car's floor to produce greater flexing while maintaining wear of the skid, the element used by the International Federation to check wear levels at the end of the race. We're talking about a gray area of the regulations, where potentially a lot of performance can be found. It cannot be excluded that the Italian team is not as skilled at benefiting from this aspect, having to use heights 1 or 2 mm higher. A distance that may not seem very large, but in reality can make a significant difference. The idea that emerges is precisely this, as Ferrari still hasn't figured out how to use the desired heights. The first triple header of the season sees Formula One travel from Japan to Bahrain for round 4 at the Sakir circuit. The Bahrain International Circuit has become a well-established fixture on the calendar, even featuring 2 visits per year, as this Middle Eastern island is also home to pre-season testing. For the Italian side, Bahrain therefore represents a crucial crossroads in Formula One. The first 3 Grands Prix have been an ongoing test to understand the various aerodynamic and mechanical issues affecting the SF-25 single-seater, with results that have not been entirely satisfactory. A different car was expected, but delays in understanding have played a role. The updates have brought improvements in some aspects, but also a real revolution in others. A risk was taken that, for now, has not met expectations. Ferrari's troubles have been analyzed multiple times during the last few days. Essentially, there is a lack of proper interaction between mechanics and aerodynamics, a problem that mainly affects the rear of the car. This translates into an inability to use optimal ground clearance, which would allow for increased aerodynamic load and leverage the SF25's potential, as Fred Vasseur has pointed out. On track, the result of this difficulty is a narrower setup window, which, given the current gaps between the cars, results in a significant time difference. To give an idea, the deficit compared to McLaren, which is currently the benchmark, is about 0.3 of a second per lap. It might not seem like much, but in the top motorsport category, it is an eternity. The feedback from Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc highlights significant understeer, an issue that seems to be more problematic for the seven-time Formula One world champion, who, in this first part of the season, has not been able to find a way to mitigate it. At the Suzuka International Circuit in Japan, the Monegasque driver devised a particular and very interesting braking technique to limit this problem, a method that the Briton should also use this weekend in Bahrain, and one which we will thoroughly analyze in an upcoming video later today. The team principal of the historic Ferrari team spoke about the work done in preparation for Scuderia, that it's about understanding from former team principal Mattia Binotto's press office has honestly become tiresome. A lot of work for understanding, in short. Despite this, if nothing has changed in the last few hours after Antonio Giovinazzi's tests in the Maranello simulator, Ferrari should debut some aerodynamic updates at the 5.412-kilometer Bahrain International Circuit in Scuderia. Among these crucial updates, there is the new floor with modifications in the lower section, which is designed to shift the center of pressure. This intervention aims to reduce understeer and ensure greater stability of the airflow at specific heights, trying to prevent bottoming, a phenomenon that Fred Vasseur has confirmed. The overall goal is to expand the SF25's aerodynamic map, making the car more competitive. The Scuderia circuit should be more favorable for Ferrari as compared to the previous rounds, which, due to certain technical choices, has shown a greater ability to generate traction compared to other teams. So far, it has remained somewhat on paper, sacrificed at the altar of suspension compromise. The Bahrain circuit is stop and go, and Ferrari, at least in theory, should be able to take advantage of this characteristic. Another interesting aspect worth mentioning is the equation that governs aerodynamic load and drag resistance, a compromise that, as far as we know, should be achieved much more easily, making the car significantly more competitive. This is somewhat what the Maranello-based team expects. During the 3 days of pre-season track testing, which took place at the end of February, Ferrari, by observing the onboard footage, showed good performance in exiting the first chicane toward Turn 4. The same goes for the section leading to Turn 10. On the other hand, the Italian car needs to achieve optimal balance in the fast and tight sections of the circuit between Turns 11 and 14, areas where it had shown some weakness.